We continue our Big Ten spring football preview. We're going to look at Jonathan Smith and the Michigan State Spartans, and we're going to tell you how Nick Saban actually screwed up this program to where it is today. I'll have all those details. Locked On Big Ten starts now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I am Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. You know, we always appreciate you guys. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today, our episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. We're going to connect the dots from Nick Saban all the way to where we are today in East Lansing. Plus, we'll have the latest news. And Penn State with an amazing comeback last night. Plus, our Big Ten classics and live action coming up on the weekend. Be sure to subscribe, please. That helps us out. And follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. Spring brings forth eternal hope. We're looking at all of our Big Ten teams getting ready for spring practices and spring football coming up. That's the case with Michigan State football as well. Look, we think Jonathan Smith will do a good job there. Seems like a grinder, a guy that's going to do the little things that need to be done, the things that are necessary to build a winner. And we'll take a look at his priorities here in the spring. Now, this will probably take some time, but we'll take a look at it. It takes some time for them. We'll take a look at it. It'll only take us about 20 minutes. The football and the upcoming 2024 season for Michigan State is an interesting one. And when we get to the schedule, man, it's brutal. But first, I had a thought about the past, and I thought about connecting the dots to the present here. So here we go. Hear me out. You know, Nick Saban may have indirectly led to today's state of affairs with the Spartan football program. All right, here we go. He coached the Spartans from 1995 to 1999, took them to 3 bowl games. And at first, when he got there, he said he promised he would stay until he turned the Spartans into a championship caliber team. However, without a championship, LSU and the SEC came calling, and he was gone. Saban spent from 2000 to 2004 at LSU, and in 2003 took them to a national championship. They won a natty while he was there. Now, that had to hurt Spartan fans just a little bit. That was their guy a few years back, right? And now he's winning a national championship at LSU, but that's life. I get it if you follow sports, right? Then in 2007, a couple of interesting things happened. First of all, Mark D'Antonio, a former Saban assistant at Michigan State, he is named the head football coach of the Spartans. The second thing that happened in 2007, Nick Saban becomes the head coach at Alabama. Now, while D'Antonio had a very solid run at Michigan State from 2007 to 2019, he took the Spartans to 12 bowl games. He won 3 Big Ten titles. That was great. But during the same period, Nick Saban was becoming Nick Saban. Won 6 more national championships, all at Alabama at that point. That had to hurt Spartans fans a lot. Fast forward to 2020. Mel Tucker becomes the head coach at Michigan State. Now, Michigan State once let Nick Saban walk out the door. They couldn't have him back, but Tucker, he was part of the Nick Saban coaching tree. Maybe that would be good enough. Tucker was a grad assistant under Saban at Michigan State back in 97 to 98. In 2000, Tucker was Saban's defensive backs coach at LSU. And in 2015, Tucker rejoined Saban for a third time, this time at Alabama, as a defensive backs coach and assistant head coach. Nice resume, right? People at Michigan State noticed. Welcome to East Lansing in 2020. Mel Tucker, you're the new head coach. So things got off to a good start in Tucker's second year. A lot happened there, right? In 2021, Michigan State went 11-2. 11-2. Great year. They beat arch rival Michigan in a battle of top 10 matchups. They were ranked as high as number 3 in the country. They finished off the season with a Peach Bowl win. Mel Tucker was named Big Ten Coach of the Year. What could go wrong? It was fantastic. And while all this is going on, by the way, people upstairs at Michigan State, the higher-ups, they're going, we got something going on here. We don't want to lose Tucker the way we lost Nick Saban. They weren't going to make that same mistake again and watch Tucker walk out the door and go have success somewhere else. So they gave him a 10-year, $95 million contract extension. Huge money. Huge. But then 2022 happened. Spartans dropped to 5-7. People were starting to wonder, was 2021 a fluke? Did Tucker win because the kids that Mark D'Antonio recruited had matured and were ready to go? Who knows? Then the 2023 season happened. Tucker was accused of inappropriate behavior. He was suspended and fired. The team finished 4-8. And now here we are with Jonathan Smith taking over, trying to fix things. I argue that chasing the ghosts of Nick Saban and trying to avoid the mistakes of the past led the Spartans football program to where it is right now. That was my whole point, connecting Nick Saban to what's going on right now. You can agree or disagree with it. I think it's a valid point. I also think that Jonathan Smith is a good football coach. He's got a lot of work to do. It begins right now with spring football. So let's take a look at what's going on at Michigan State. So, look, Smith did a good job. I think the minute he got signed, he hit the recruiting trail throughout the entire state of Michigan. As soon as he arrived at East Lansing, got that contract signed, got in a car, and just started driving all over the state, introducing himself to head football coaches with the high schools in the state of Michigan, and got that in order so that he could start recruiting, kind of like a base point, if you will. Then he immediately had to sort out the transfer portal. First and foremost, he talked to his young quarterback, Aiden Childs, to join him from Oregon State. So, hey, I got this job over here. Why don't you come follow me? And he did. Cool. Childs is a promising but young quarterback. So Smith got an experienced quarterback in Tommy Schuster from North Dakota State to help out in the quarterback room. That same day, Smith got Oregon State center and guard Tanner Miller to come to Michigan State. He was all conference out there, and it's going to be a nice anchor on that offensive line. Also on that same day, Texas A&M corner Tony Grimes says he's coming too. And he got his tight end, Jack Velling, to transfer in, and he's very experienced, as is experienced wide receiver TJ Sheffield from Purdue. So he's putting some pieces together quickly. And also on the defensive side of the ball, I know we mentioned the corner, Tony Grimes from A&M, who I believe was also at North Carolina for a while. On the defensive side of the ball, the Spartans were able to retain some players. And Smith says he's looking forward to looking at his defensive line coming up here in spring football. In fact, he thinks he feels pretty good about both offensive and defensive lines moving forward. These are just some of the transactions that were going on that have taken place. And frankly, and you Spartan fans know this, if you look at the transfer portal list, both players coming in and going out, Michigan State is one of the longest portal lists in the country. There's a lot of movement coming and going. The Spartan spring game is April 20th. That'll be after 15 slated practices. And hopefully Smith will find some chemistry pretty fast. I think the 2024 schedule is really tough for the Spartans. So if you're trying to get better, trying to find chemistry, you're going to do it against some pretty tough competition. After an August 31st warm-up against Florida Atlantic, there's the early Big Ten opener. They don't play 3 non-conference games and then start the Big Ten schedule like normal. They got their one game, and then they start off with their opener, Big Ten opener, at Maryland on the road in week 2. Other dates with Prairie View A&M and then Boston College. And then their Big Ten home opener is Ohio State. So right out of the gates, it's tough. And that's followed by a game in Oregon. That's pretty rough. They got a bye weekend there, and then the Spartans host the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're always grinders. And then, of course, they play at Michigan on November 2nd. That's just part of the schedule. I'm not going to go over the whole thing right here, but that's pretty substantial right there. It's going to be tough. A tough schedule. A lot of people have tough schedules in the Big Ten. I'm not trying to diminish that or what we would expect on anybody, but it's going to be hard to get well early, especially if you still kind of put it together early on and open and improve as the season goes on. You got some tough competition right out of the box early on. pretty tough. Take your comments, Michigan State Spartan fan. Love to hear from you. Of course, at Twitter, at X, Talk Big Ten, number 10. Comments on YouTube. You guys have been great on there as well. And don't forget our website, talkbig10, number 10.com as well. So we got a lot of stuff we want to cover here on this podcast. There was a huge comeback by Penn State. New home digs last night. I'll explain. Plus, Caitlin Clark's prospects at the next level. Somebody you might have heard of before talking about it. We got all that coming up next. It's right here on Locked On Big Ten. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. They got everything. Whether you're into speed, power, style, whether you want to look good, eBay Motors has got you covered. Over 122 million parts on your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. You everydayers, thank you for making us go. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe and help us out there. It's free. Subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten wherever you get this podcast. Your team every day. And also don't forget to check out our website, talkbig10, number 10.com. Look, there was a little bit of nostalgia last night at Happy Valley. What am I talking about? In case you didn't watch the Penn State game, you missed a great game, by the way. I'll get to that in a minute. But Penn State hosted a ranked Fighting Illini team that has aspirations of its own of catching Purdue in the Big Ten standings. The game was held at the old Rec Hall, a building they once called home for like 70 years back in 1929. And they moved out of there in 1998 and moved into the spacious Bryce Jordan Center. I've done play-by-play games at Penn State before. I know I'm flipping through the channels to sit down and watch the game. I'm like, that's not the Bryce Jordan Center. No, it was like their old field house, their rec hall out there. Fans are right on top, very intimate on top of the players there. And it was the first time they played a game there since 2015. And their first Big Ten game there since the team moved out in 1998. By the way, the women will play Ohio State in that rec hall tonight, Thursday night. Now, back to the game. It was another comeback game by the Nittany Lions. 4 of Penn State's 7 wins in the conference this year have come in games where they've had to erase a double-digit lead. Wednesday night, similar and familiar situation. After getting fouled on a 3-point attempt, Zach Hicks coolly and calmly made all 3 free throws and gave Penn State a 1-point win, 90-89 over 12th-ranked Illinois. Nick Kern Jr., he scored a career-high 22 points. Penn State overcame a 14-point deficit in the second half and snapped a 3-game skid. Remarkable. For Illinois, Terrence Shannon Jr., he scored 19 of his 35 in the second half. Shannon is really playing well. So anyway, I wanted to mention that. And then a lot of conversation going ever since Caitlin Clark has been on her scoring tear and setting the NCAA women's scoring mark just last week. A lot of people want to know, will this translate to the next level? Will she be just as good in the WNBA? I mean, she averages 32 points a game here playing college basketball, but going against, a professional league where everybody's good, how will she do? Well, a retired basketball star, Sue Bird, one of the biggest names ever in women's basketball, she thinks that Clark can be an all-star as soon as her rookie year. That's pretty high praise, I think, don't you? Bird said on a podcast that her opinion is not a knock on the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark's just going to roll in there and just dominate. No, she didn't think that at all. She thinks Clark is that good, first of all. And the fact that her shooting range is basically anywhere in the building, she can launch those 3-pointers from anywhere. People are not used to guarding someone that far away from the basket. And that's what sets Clark apart from anybody else. Now, she does have one more year of eligibility left because everybody got the extra year during the COVID year. But she's not said publicly whether she's going to go pro after this season or not. I get a feeling I think she's going to be done at Iowa and go to the WNBA. That's just me. No inside information whatsoever. I just think it's time. I think that's what she's going to do. Maybe I'm wrong. And Iowa fans would be thrilled to have her back. And who knows, with name, image, and likeness, maybe she can make a pretty good living playing another year of college ball compared to what she may make in the WNBA. That's up to her, but I think it's an interesting situation. Speaking of hoops, Thursday night tonight, got 3 games in the Big Ten. Rutgers is at number 3 Purdue. That's at 7 o'clock Eastern time on FS1, part of a doubleheader. But in between, we got Ohio State at Minnesota. That's an 8 p.m. Eastern game on the Big Ten Network. And Michigan is at Northwestern at 9 o'clock Eastern, also on FS1. Couple women's games. Number 2 ranked Ohio State is at Penn State. That's the game I was mentioning just a moment ago. It's going to be in the Rec Hall. That'll be on the Big Ten Network at 6 o'clock Eastern. And then number 4 Iowa and Caitlin Clark back in action. And this is going to be a good one. They're at number 14 Indiana. That is at Assembly Hall in Bloomington. That's an 8 o'clock game Eastern time on Peacock. So you might want to check that one out as well. Hey, if you're new to us, you haven't heard, but if you're a regular and every day, or you've heard me say this, but the Locked On Network semi-recently has created a new channel, and it's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's called Locked On Sports Today, and it's here for you 24/7. It covers all the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. And as I've mentioned time and time again, even you can find this show on there from time to time as well. You can go to Locked On Sports Today after you're done with us here today and check it out on YouTube and subscribe there to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel after you subscribe here, if you don't mind, if you haven't already. A lot of you have. Thank you very much for that. We really, really appreciate it. All right. As you know, we always like in our final segment to have a feature. It's different each and every day. Same on Thursdays, we take a look at the Big Ten Network, even though we're not affiliated with the Big Ten Network, but we cover all the same stuff. Why not? So we always look at Big Ten classics and Big Ten live action in various sports going into the weekend. We will take care of all that and fill you in right here in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. Get your buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams and prop bets and games and over-unders, quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props that you'll find nowhere else. Check it out here on FanDuel. NBA back in action now tonight following the All-Star break. I'll give you a game to look at. Pistons are at the Pacers. Now, first of all, I've told you about this before. The Pacers, almost every game, whoever they play, the total has gone over. I would recommend it again. And I think the over-under is 247.5. Take the over. They'll fly by it. Pistons don't play any defense. And also the Pacers are 11.5-point favorites. They're at home. I think they're going to cover. The Pistons, what are they this year? Yeah, so Pacers minus 11.5 for the win and take the game over at 247.5. My personal tip to you. We'll see what happens. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. That's what I'm doing. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right, let's get to it here. Our segment here, we like to take a look at what's coming up on the Big Ten Network. So let's do that. I'm going to put it on full screen, and we can take a look at it. If you're audio only, I'll describe it in detail, but we call it the Big Ten Classics on the Big Ten Network. Not a lot of classics, more live action here this weekend, but we'll get to it all here. We'll start you off on Friday, the 23rd, with a couple of events. First at 6 o'clock Eastern time. Got women's gymnastics in the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten 5 meet number 1. They got a big event. It's all split up here this weekend. And then at 8 o'clock Eastern time, Big Ten men's hockey. Got Notre Dame at Michigan. I still love those Notre Dame Michigan football games back in the day, don't you? Well, we're gonna have to watch some hockey between these two here on Friday night. Then on Saturday, the 24th, I'd set your alarm if you want to check this out. 7 a.m. Eastern time. Maybe you're an early riser, getting the coffee going, want to watch an old classic, Illinois basketball classic. This is Iowa at Illinois, 1989. Illinois was ranked number 4 in the country. They rolled 118 points to beat 15th ranked Iowa. It was the home finale. It was senior day. This was Lou Henson's Final Four team with guys like Nick Anderson and Kenny Battle and Kendall Gill. Again, that's all at 7 o'clock Eastern time. First thing Saturday morning, Illinois hosting Iowa. If you missed that one or want to watch it again, that would be pretty cool. Then at 11:30 a.m., it's Big Ten Live. It's the Big Ten tip-off show, getting ready for a day of college basketball around the Big Ten, and they go right into the noon game. And they got men's basketball. It is Indiana at Penn State, and boy, Indiana struggling. They lost to Nebraska at home on Wednesday night. 2:15 Big Ten men's basketball, Iowa at Illinois, and on 9 o'clock. Let's see here. 9 o'clock, it's Big Ten women's hockey now. Ohio State at Wisconsin. So you want to check that out. All right, now let's go on to Sunday. Again, still getting used to not having NFL football on Sunday, so check some of this stuff out. 11 o'clock, 11:30 Eastern time. It's the Big Ten Live basketball tip-off show. And at noon, we get right into it. It is men's basketball, Maryland at Rutgers. That's going to be a grinder. I think that's going to be a good game. 2 o'clock Eastern time. I think we've got it's Ohio State. I got a typo there. It's Ohio State Buckeyes are playing. I'm sorry. That's not a typo. That's a women's game. Just kind of check that out. Big Ten women's basketball, 2 o'clock Eastern, Maryland at Ohio State. And of course, Ohio State ranked, and they're got some big expectations for the postseason, don't they? At 4 o'clock, more women's basketball. Purdue is at Wisconsin. And then at 6:30, we close out our day, or the things we're talking about here, 6:30 Eastern, men's basketball, Minnesota at Nebraska. Now, Nebraska, I told you time and time again, Nebraska is awesome at home. They struggle on the road, undefeated in Big Ten play at home. They hadn't won any games on the road until Wednesday night. They rolled into Assembly Hall, and they looked like the home version of themselves, and they beat the Indiana Hoosiers there. So, in fact, they've swept the Hoosiers this year. Nebraska has. I've told you, Nebraska, I've had them as a tournament team for a long time. They are fun to watch, so check them out. And that is our schedule on the Big Ten Network that we wanted to highlight with Big Ten Classics and Big Ten Live action. So check some of that out going into the weekend. In the meantime, love to hear from you guys. Many ways to interact with me. You see my handle here at Twitter or X at TalkBig10, number 10. Our website, scrolling across the bottom, talkbig10, 10.com. All of our podcasts go there. They're grouped by teams. They're marked chronologically. Everything is there. Plus, you can get some swag. It's for sale with the Big Ten schools, pennants, shirts, hats. You can get tickets to an event there. It's all there right at our website, talkbig10, 10.com. And don't forget to leave comments here on YouTube as well. Be sure before you go to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And then also when you're done, feel free to check out Locked On's new channel, our national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. Like tomorrow, we're going to look at spring football for Southern Cal. That's right. Welcome to the Big Ten, plus all the latest basketball news as well, and our basketball picks going into the weekend. So we will have all of that. So check us out. Thanks for visiting today. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Tell your friends about us, especially Big Ten alum that you may know, and check us out right here on Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thanks a lot.